Welcome, humanoids, to another episode of The Two Left Feet. I'm your host, Dafydd Vaughan. It is the 3rd of September, 2025, and we're welcoming you to the unofficial Your Party podcast. We've rebranded. I mean, not completely rebranded. There's a couple of other things like the email address that still need to go. But as you can see, we've got a brand new shiny logo. We've got all sorts of new shininess, all sorts of quietness as well. By the way, this is going to be the quiet episode. This is going to be the calm, relaxing, quiet, subdued episode, because we also have, the co-host with the most. He's former councillor. He is the consigliere of the Two Left Feet. He is as quiet as a mouse. Nobody can hear him coming. No one can see him strike. He is former councillor Jabez Oakes. Welcome to the podcast, Jabez Oakes.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
No, we can't hear you.
Hello. Sorry, that's it.
Oh, I think my ears just blew out. Yes, Mr. Jabez Oakes, you're as quiet as a mouse. Nobody can hear you.
I think that's
nobody can hear you scream.
I think that's the fairest comment we've received over the last feedback.
It's feedback. It's feedback. No, it's a fair comment.
It is definitely a fair comment.
For those of you who are completely oblivious or unaware or just don't care to this, we thank Arthur, who got in touch with us after last week's episode, who said, "Hi, David, some constructive criticism. I couldn't hear your co-host well, and to be honest, Arthur, I think you've got to be thankful of that."
You didn't miss much.
No, you didn't miss much at all. I mean, you're just talking about endless nonsense.
Yeah.
Even with my computer volume on maximum, the theme tune was loud, which it is. It's it's a fanfare. To hail my arrival, of course. Your level was okay, and I think my level is okay.
Yeah,
because I'm perfect. But your co-host's low volume made the podcast unlistenable to me. I don't think that's the reason why the podcast was unlistenable. However, yes, he was very quiet. Jabez is now sat upright. He has stopped wiggling and breaking chairs.
Oh, don't tell them that.
He's now completely up against the microphone. He can't get any closer without swallowing the whole
thing. I can't
thing.
Leave. He's trapped me.
Yeah. It's pinned down with the microphone.
Mm.
I listen to many YouTube videos without problem, so the problem isn't my end. It isn't yours.
No, it's definitely
not your end.
We've had this issue for a while.
I'll explain. I'll explain it in a second. Some people will be able to crank it louder to hear, but I wasn't, and they shouldn't need to.
That's true.
Arthur, very fair comments, and hopefully we've addressed it this week, and hopefully you can hear us loud and clear coming through your speakers.
It seems as well that it's retrospectively, because I go back and listen to the podcast.
Do you really?
To check for issues and things I may have said.
Any apologies that you thought were
possibly later on? But we'll
do you know that is the most listened to episode of the original batch?
Oh, the one where I don't apologise for calling.
Well, you did apologise.
I did.
You did apologise. It was an apology.
It was. And I think a lot.
Go back and listen to it if you want. It's
16, is it? It's the titles to do with battling Spen. It's the by-election. The person concerned.
Yeah, Apologies and Hate. It was called
Apologies and Hate. That's it. But anyway, so the upshot is that I think a lot of the balancing has been corrected by robots and whatever.
I mean, over the past week, I may have Arthur. This is your constructive criticism.
Can you imagine if he never listens again? He won't hear this. I hope he does.
I hope. I hope, Arthur, if you're listening again, get in touch again. We'll thank you, and any future comments or anything we say, we will broadcast as much feedback as possible.
Oh, indeed, and do comment again if you would rather we tone down my volume.
Yeah, or just switched it off.
Yes, that's fine.
Because that might help.
Shall I do that now? Okay, you carry on.
I have spent most of the week telling Jabez that he's too quiet, that it's his fault, that he's going to ruin the podcast, that the whole of the Your Party movement is now going to fail and fall at this hurdle because he couldn't project his voice. And interestingly, there was a meeting last night that we attended where, again, even in person, in a meeting where Jabez did speak, nobody could hear him. Someone with a hearing aid had to move within 2 feet of him just to be able to listen to the kind and thoughtful words that Jabez had to bring to the meeting. So, Arthur, you're not alone there. There's people who actually physically stand next to him and can't hear or can't listen to him. He is unlistenable.
It's deliberate because they don't need to hear what I'm saying. There's no reason. No, I think I have 2 volumes and
both are quiet.
And I'm uncomfortable being at a louder volume sometimes. Yeah. But yes.
However, I am going to admit to something.
Oh no.
Yes, I know. I mean,
that's dangerous.
I'm going to admit that sometimes, it's occasionally, my perfection is slightly tarnished. Just a little bit, because last week it was League Cup week for those of you who follow football, and for those of you who don't know, and I have mentioned in the podcast in the past, I'm an Everton fan. I'm a big Everton fan, to be fair. And last Wednesday was the League Cup game against Mansfield at our new ground in the Hill Dickinson Stadium, or Bromley Moor Stadium. To be honest, I'm still going to call it Bromley Moor, but anyway, there you go. And while we were finishing up, I may have forgotten to press a little button that did the enhancement of. And I use. There's all sorts of programs and files and things. I've now found a program that does podcast recording. It's far simpler, far better than we used to do, but you have to actually tell it to do the enhancement bits at the end,
which is a good thing.
Which
you don't want
great.
it doing anything on.
Well, I mean, the old podcasts, I spent an hour or two afterwards,
bless you,
having to listen to you again,
to me again,
to you again, and edit the audio. In it took me hours.
And now you don't have to listen to.
Well, 4 years later, is it 4 years? 5 years? Yes. 4 years later, we now have technology where the computer just does it automatically, and there we go. And I just forgot to press that button before actually uploading it to the interweb, and for you listeners out there to listen to, and it was a raw audio copy without any enhancements.
So have you re-uploaded it with that?
No,
enhancement.
No,
well, I've noticed a difference though. I've noticed that
you cranked it up.
Oh, fair enough. Fine.
I mean, you were one of the people that Arthur said that could crank it up, though you shouldn't have had to.
No,
but you did. So well done.
I do wonder. Anyway,
it just meant that when the music came on, it blasted your ears out because everything was on a different.
Well,
level.
I can't hear anything now. I'm lip reading you.
Well, I can't hear anything after your little introduction there. And anyway, we're going to have a little bit of a change in the order of programming today. Again, by feedback and some of the things that have been spoken about. So today's first segment, we are just going to have a little general chat about the politics of the week. And there's a lot of shipbuilding going on. So there's shipbuilding going everywhere. In England and in Northern Ireland and all sorts of shipbuilding. As we listened to Prime Minister's questions before we started recording this, what do you reckon to all the shipbuilding that's going on?
Well, there's a lot of shipbuilding going on in the country.
Yes,
and
I mean, there's a whole party of it. So
yeah,
they're trying to reform it, though, aren't they?
Yes, I think when the Prime Minister's questions, it annoys me every time because I'm a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to Parliament, which isn't surprising at all to anyone listening, I'm sure. But you're not really meant to have planted questions, and it was just every question from the Labour benches was talking about shipbuilding, and Starmer had very readied answers on shipbuilding, and it was just pathetic and pointless, and it was just a lot of waste of time.
But it was shipbuilding.
Yeah, but I mean, do you know what the shipbuilding that's going on? Do you know what's happening? Do you know what the projects are? Or
I don't. Glazed over.
Yeah, exactly.
I did glaze over when. And here's the thing: me and Jabez, when we were we did a watch along of Prime Minister's questions before, and it was like this phrase was being thrown around a little bit too much, and it's the shipbuilding.
Yeah.
And they said it in such a way, it was like, what exactly are they saying there?
Yeah. What are we building?
What are they building?
Ships.
Yes.
Mm.
And we sort of took a guess that there might have been an in-joke going on.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I think there might have been. How many times can we get the Prime Minister to say shipbuilding? Shipbuilding,
Mm.
obviously.
Yes, not.
Well, I mean, it's up to the listeners to try and figure out what we said. But ship with a P, building, and I just think if they're using Prime Minister's question time to possibly do something like that,
Well, either way, either they're doing that, which would be hilarious, or they're just planting good stories to try and make Labour look better than they are at the moment, which is obviously a bit shit.
Why would they be doing that? Are they evading something? Evading some questions? Evading some subjects? What evasion are they trying to do by putting the shipbuilding in place?
Well, it hasn't worked because it's headline news. The thing they've been trying to
evade
or avoid, as the case may be.
Well, trying to avoid and then became evading.
Allegedly.
Not allegedly. She's admitted to it. Isn't that what the news says? Isn't that what's reported?
I'm not comfortable.
Hang on.
Yet, but
well, we haven't named anyone yet.
No. She's so Starmer backs Rayner after she admits underpaying tax.
So she's admitted it.
Yeah.
So what is it? What exactly has she done?
I'm not up to speed. So she has a complex family situation. She set up a trust for her son, who has special education.
Angela Rayner, Deputy Prime Minister now.
Yes. And Deputy Leader of the Labour Party.
Deputy Leader, yes.
So even if she was sacked by Starmer from the cabinet, she would still be Deputy Leader of the Labour Party.
But not Deputy Prime Minister.
Not Deputy Prime Minister.
Okay.
Or her other briefs that she holds. She says she took legal advice with regards to this trust. It turns out either that advice was wrong or she's received new advice. It says here expert counsel advice, which means barristers.
Yes.
And then
swines of the universe.
Sure, absolutely, I completely agree. And I watched a piece by Jacob Rees-Mogg, and his point was extremely focused on this. And his issue is not, and I find this bizarre.
Jacob Rees-Mogg having an issue with tax.
So here's right. So he doesn't have a problem with tax avoidance, right? And we must make that distinction. There's a difference between
avoidance and
avoiding
evasion.
Tax and evasion.
Avoidance is those people that sit in that house that made little loopholes so they can avoid paying certain taxes.
Yeah, so it's utilising legitimate loopholes.
Legitimate. How are they legitimate loopholes?
As opposed to evasion, which is a criminal offence. That's the difference, right?
Well, that's semantics.
So his focus is semantics politically and morally, but legally it's not. The focus for him wasn't on the fact that Angela Rayner had used a technique to try and avoid tax. It was that she's a hypocrite because she's a socialist, and socialists believe that you must pay all your taxes. And I find that such an interesting, slightly high school, university debating style point to make, when the reality is, if we live in a country where you want to save money all the time, you want to save taxes or whatever, it's very cheap to have politics, but it can also be very expensive, and sometimes you do just have to, I don't think you necessarily need to link the two together, but it's interesting that the right-wing press, which Jacob Rees-Mogg is now part of the right-wing media, right-wing press, on his GBB's news or whatever, they're trying to say, well, we don't have a problem with tax avoidance. Tax avoidance is fine. That's a good thing. You shouldn't have to pay your taxes if you can get away with it, blah, blah, blah.
Entrepreneurial if you manage to avoid it, yes.
Unless you are a socialist who says you should all pay your tax. And it's that doesn't really, is this how childish our politics has become? And we spoke about this over the last couple of podcasts.
But then does that mean, is that him trying to point out that she's not a socialist? That the Labour Party is not a left-wing
I
party.
don't think Angela Rayner would say she's a socialist.
No, I wouldn't say she'd
And
ever
I
said that.
think there's a lot of people in the Labour Party, it being a broad church,
Well,
it
used to,
trying to be a broad church.
used to be a broad church.
Yeah, and
It's lost a significant portion of its congregation recently.
sure, and that happens with churches. But yeah, I don't think you would regard Labour as a socialist party.
No.
They're a social democratic party, if that. But you could easily, under political science terms, view them all the established parties as neoliberal anyway. So this whole sort of trying to tar, I don't like when someone who isn't the group that others say they are does something bad, and then people like Rees-Mogg say, oh, they're all bad, they're all hypocrites then. All socialists, they love spending other people's money. It goes back to that Thatcher quote. The problem with socialists is they really like spending other people's money. And it's that sort of, are we really debasing? We've got some serious issues at the moment going on in the country, including shipbuilding, including foreign policy issues, including Trump visiting in a couple of weeks. It's all very serious.
Also,
you can name them. You think about them all the time already.
Mm-hmm.
And we're pitting around with whether someone's tax affairs are kosher or not.
Should she resign? Morally, should she resign? She's broken the law.
I would resign.
She's admitted to breaking the law.
Yeah. There's other examples.
She has now got the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom defending her.
Yeah.
At Prime Minister's question.
Which is extremely inappropriate.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, just a bit of a door moving.
Just a bit of a door moving.
It's because I'm trapped in this corner, just so we can get good. Yeah.
Nobody
Anyway.
puts Jabez in the corner. But should she resign?
If I was her,
Yes.
I would resign. Not necessarily from Parliament, but I'd have to resign from government.
Yeah, you'd have to. I mean,
you just would.
I mean, but she's been referred to the ethical committee, and that's enough for me. I think she's done enough. And I don't think she has done enough. I think this is her admitting that she tried to avoid tax, and in taking the incorrect advice, she's then committed an act of evasion.
Yeah.
Why is she
and
trying
sometimes that happens.
Why is she trying to avoid tax? It was stamp duty, wasn't it? It was
Yes.
Stamp duty in the house.
Yeah.
So why is she trying to avoid tax? Why, as the Deputy Prime Minister, is she trying to defraud?
It's not defrauding if.
It is if she's if it's tax evasion.
If yes, she has potentially defrauded on tax because it turns out what she did wasn't avoidance.
Well, there you go. So
yes,
she must resign.
Yeah, she must resign because that is the fact of what happened, and it doesn't matter. It goes back to this sort of ethics demand of public office, which is what you do must be ethical, but must also be seen to be ethical. So even if she says it was a mistake, the advice I received was wrong, it was a genuine error, it doesn't matter because everyone can look at that now and go, yeah, it might not have been, no. Might not have been. You might have thought you got away with it.
Yeah.
So she has to go because it's not about her anymore. It's about the cabinet.
And it's about the office.
Government.
It's about the seat that she holds.
His Majesty's government. It's about the seat she holds.
Yeah.
Everything is now in disrepute. Disrepute, that's the phrase.
Yeah.
And that's why anyone in her position should consider that they have to go.
Well, I mean, that's a very legalese term in terms of the repute of people within that profession.
Yeah, but you can tie it in with that quote, which is it's seen to be done as well as, morally it's about...
No, I'm just saying to people who are listening.
Oh, okay.
Are you all right there? Would you like to move your chair?
You talk for a bit and I'll sort out the chair. You say your bit.
Okay, well, we'll sort out the chair in the break. We'll go to the break in a minute. Anyway.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so that's it. On another thing from comments from Prime Minister's questions tonight. Absentees. It was very absent Prime Minister's questions. So the one of the leaders of the main polled parties, after a long summer vacation and a long summer break, this is the first week back in Parliament, and a notable absentee of old Nige. Nige wasn't there. He wasn't there again.
Where was he?
He was in America. Oh, he is in America.
What's he doing in America?
I don't know. I'm sucking Donald Dunce's dong. I don't know.
Bloody hell.
I mean, in terms, not actually, figuratively.
No,
I think I
don't
just-
think we should worry about being sued for accusing Nigel Farage.
I think I just wanted to get the phrase Donald Dunce's dong
Donald Dunce's dong.
and Nigel hanging off the end of it.
Well, there we go.
It is one of those where he is, again...
Was Richard Tice there?
The other three were there, yeah.
The other three were there, yeah. Because there's only 4 of them.
Because there's only 4.
Lest we forget.
Yeah. I mean, just remember, I mean, these 4 MPs who sit as a fringe party are holding the government of the United Kingdom with a majority of something like 80 or 90 seats.
Huge, yeah.
And are holding them to unbelievable amounts of pressure. It's surreal, utterly surreal, and more so that he's doing it from another country. He's literally doing it as a foreign influence.
Yeah. At what point is he a fifth column?
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah. Anyway,
so yes to all of the reform supporters. And we had a conversation about this last night. I do not blame a lot of reform supporters who have been polled to say that they would vote for reform in the next elections, because in all fairness to them, they've got no alternative. We've just spoken about Angela Rayner and how they and all the main parties, including the Lib Dems, are just these ones in the middle that nobody can trust anymore. A lot of people have gone, okay, well, we need to do something different again. And, Farage is there holding up a flag on a telegraph pole somewhere, basically saying, we could do something different. Here is something different. And everybody's going, well, okay, give it a try.
yeah.
Hopefully by the time elections come around your way before long, there will be a better alternative.
Yeah.
If certainly people in the All Party group get a move on and get candidates out there. Like I said, I don't blame reform supporters. There needs to be bigger, broader discussions on what's going on, but more discussions on the fact that how terrible they are as representatives.
Who reform?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's. What are your thoughts on him not being in Parliament as an MP?
Did they put a Union Jack in his place, or is it empty?
It's just empty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they could put a mannequin there in a.
Dennis Skinner. I have many thoughts on Dennis Skinner, but one of the things I always believed that he did incredibly well was he understood his role as an MP, which is being at Parliament all the time. Now, you do have to go home, and Parliament has, they stop on a Thursday so you can go home on a Friday to do your constituencies work. But he was there every single day in this place, every single day. One of the jokes is, he got very possessive over his space. And that's because he used it. And he was sat there every day.
That was his seat.
And, obviously we have a mixed system of government. So, we have the executive sitting in Parliament, which means the Prime Minister can't be there every day. I understand that. But in the past, it was expected that ministers and the Prime Minister would attend Parliament at least once a day because they had stuff they needed to vote through, stuff they needed to say.
You never see that anymore.
No, and that doesn't happen anymore. And that's a bad thing. That's a lack of accountability. So if you want to look at reform, and this will be their argument as well, look at reform and their absenteeism. Just look at the established parties as well. Parliament is not their main
source of income.
It's not their main function, and it should be. And Parliament needs to become much more. We were getting there under Bercow for all of his problems, of which there are many. But in terms of creating a robust and powerful legislature, which actually does stuff, we need that more. And Farage, frankly, can do what he can do because everyone else is doing it as well.
Okie dokie. But
he's also a twat, though, so yeah.
Thank you, Jay. I don't.
Sorry, I just had to balance that argument out a bit because it sounded like I was giving an excuse for him.
Absolutely, and I don't know how to.
You can't beep it.
I don't know how to on this.
We've just said shipbuilding for the last 20
I said
minutes.
shipbuilding.
Oh, did you?
Yes. God damn. Anyway, right, moving on. There was
say damn either. It's not.
Why?
Because that's a swear word as well.
Why? Beavers build them.
Not that damn.
I've driven over a few of them.
Anyway, yeah.
I've visited one of them.
Which one?
Amster.
Ah.
Anyway, another question got thrown up today was the question about freedom of speech and how Graham Linehan, who was arrested on a plane, I think it was.
Coming off a plane.
Coming off
He was
a plane.
arrested in an airport.
In an airport by 10 or a dozen officers
Yep.
for this former comedy writer
Mm-hmm.
for voicing opinions about trans people.
Yes.
Now, I know this is, there's a big whole question and things, but the question and the way it was phrased in Parliament was should...
And it must be, sorry, just to make very clear
Yeah.
very quickly, we're reporting on what was said in Parliament. We're
We
not
are.
talking about
No,
the arrest
just
itself.
the question,
Mhm.
how it was presented, that freedom of speech should be paramount in everything that someone wants to say.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true? Should that be right?
We're subject to the European Convention on Human Rights, not of human rights.
No. I heard.
Sorry.
I heard the Prime Minister say the European Convention of Human Rights.
That's okay, and he is King's Counsel, and I respect his view. But if you Google it, it's not that.
It even
But
says on
anyway.
Google.
No, it says European Convention on Human Rights, not of.
No. The Prime Minister said of human
Well,
rights.
he's wrong, and that's okay. But
But he's a human rights barrister.
Fair enough. Great.
He knows. Surely he knows.
Surely he knows.
All right. Okay. So anyway, on that convention,
every single right you have, apart from one, can be limited by the state for legitimate reasons. So proportionality, right? So, because you could interpret and conflate and constrand all of the rights that we have to mean many things that you want, and the state has a role in restricting that. The old example is, should you be allowed to yell fire in a crowded theatre when there's no fire, causing panic and causing people to become injured? If you apply free speech strictly, yes, of course you can. You can say whatever you want. But if you yell fire in a crowded theatre, you're going to cause danger and risk. And this is where hate crime comes in and where hate crime becomes a problem. There will be a point where what you say could cause harm to someone else, even if that is tangentially through another person getting riled up and burning down the hotel or whatever else. And that's an aspect that's missing in the debate. And in the question, I've got no opinions on why Mr. Linehan was arrested or what he's been saying I do have opinions about what he's been saying on Twitter, but not in the context of being arrested. But to say that this is an issue of free speech without mentioning the harm that can be caused by speech is disingenuous. And until you acknowledge that there's this dynamic paradigm going on, you can yell free speech all you want. It doesn't mean anything. If like, do you always have a right to life? 99% of the time, of course you do. But if you're going to cause danger to other people, the state might have to restrict your right to life. It's the same principle. We can't, and the right will often utilize, we have to restrict rights. They're getting ridiculous. The right to family life. People can't be allowed to stay in the country because they have a cat here or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We should be allowed to deport them. Well, no, not if we're applying Article 8, the right to private and family life. If you apply that to its ends, the state can't interfere with anything to do with your private and family life. What if you're harming your children? Of course the state should intervene if you're harming your children, or whatever. And that's where you need to be very careful when you're talking about human rights and understand the mechanisms involved in actually protecting them and promoting them and all sorts of stuff. But
what about leaving the Convention on Human Rights, of human rights?
If we left the convention
of human rights.
If we disapplied the principles of the Human Rights Act, which includes being incorporated in the convention, and then also left the convention, we would go back to what was happening before, which this is quite a long answer, and I won't make it as long as it could be, but the state has the...
Arthur's falling asleep here.
Well, yeah, exactly. Poor.
You can't eat.
This is why I was turned down because this happens. The upshot is that if you want to live in the UK without the Human Rights Act or the European Convention on Human Rights, you don't have to look that far back to realise what the state was getting up to and what it was allowed to do. And there is an awful reality in this country that a lot of people don't realise, is that we have a long history of protest and dispute and trying to fight for basic rights in the UK, including in England and Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland and Ireland at various points, where the state behaved in an extremely vicious and violent way in suppressing those protests and those attempts to change people's human rights. And you don't get taught it in schools, and we don't acknowledge it because we've had a very vast and quick change, and we've also had an underlying principle of liberty.
But nobody wants to teach that kind of history about the likes of Winston Churchill.
I didn't mention Winston Churchill, but it's absolutely true. He was able to order. Was it in Wales? It was in Wales, wasn't it? Yeah, and he ordered the shooting of protesters. Or rioters, as his.
Well, is it? I mean, based on today's vernacular, is terrorist.
Well, quite indeed. In that context, but you can take that actually. Being very cautious about it. The state has immense power. Parliament is sovereign. It can make laws on whatever it wants, and we have a few tiny little reasons why Parliament can't just do what it wants and why the government can't just do what it wants. And they're very tiny, very granular. And one of them is the Human Rights Act. And one of them is the European Convention on Human Rights. And of course, Parliament could pass an act and say we're no longer part of that. And there would be international consequences and hopefully a lot of outcry. But it has to do that. And until that point, those of us who realise how important those principles are and remembers our history needs to fight against it. And standing up in Parliament and saying, oh, what about the free speech of one person is important and that should happen. But we need to remember the people who are saying that, and we need to remember the people and whether they are considering all of the mechanisms involved in human rights law and human rights principles and ethics and ethos, and whether they're being honest with you. And saying that human rights is paramount to everything is saying freedom of speech is paramount to everything is obviously wrong. And it's a simple truth. You're not allowed to yell fire in a crowded theatre. There we go.
Right then, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that was a great little insight into this week's politics. That's the segment done. Based on what we saw on Prime Minister's questions today on the 3rd of September 2025. Right, we're going to go take a break and we will be back with more. I think we're going to go and do a few replies to a few comments from last week's show, and then we're also going to do a bit of news from the Your Party setup. And we'll see how we go. So we'll be back right after this break. See you in a second, humanoids. Welcome back, humanoids, to the Two Left Feet, the unofficial Your Party podcast. I hope you all like the new logo. I spent all of 20 minutes creating it. I think it looks very professional. And if you'd like my services, well, it's not available, but, you know, depends. I think in this capitalist society, Jabez, that maybe I should put my services out there for creating...
Do you think you have enough to do?
Do I think I have enough to do?
Yeah.
No, more.
Okay.
More things to do.
All right.
Setting up one of the most successful Your Party podcasts ever created, along with all my other endeavours. Do you mean like that?
Yeah.
I mean, hang on. Can we actually call this the most successful Your Party podcast?
I thought you were going to say, can we actually call this an endeavour?
Oh, I mean, certainly a struggle.
Mm.
We were talking in the break about, the conversations that we had before. and also in slight other news. I mean, we spoke about it last week. The painting of mini roundabouts.
Oh yeah.
There's been a few comical reactions to a few of them across the country about people coming into this country. And we were just sort of saying, who is a part of this country? And I think there needs to be a doff of the cap, a salute, a recognition of those people who are a part and are in our country. So I think what I sort of may have suggested, and Jabez is hesitantly sort of going, "Oh my God, okay," is that we should have a segment about who's in our country this week, and we'll talk about an individual who should be in our country, and someone who has done something in the week to make themselves
Valuable.
Certainly worthy of the title of a member of this country that we're putting together. And maybe, I don't know, as a sort of an image, maybe put a picture of a tree.
Yeah, we could have a collage.
Collage tree, with faces of people.
Yeah, in this country.
Who are in our country. In Britain, of course.
Of course.
Within the British politics. And they just as a thing, maybe put their faces on a different branch and everything. Just completely unrelated.
Fruit of this country.
The fruit of the country that is Britain. Like an old oak. And then maybe at Christmas time we can light it up.
Yeah.
Maybe a bonfire night, we can just burn it and
Indeed. How to do it.
Start again. But I'm thinking that the most valuable member of this country this week has to be the most absent MP, Nigel Farage.
Can I just say, yeah, I think he should.
He should be the first.
And even though we've already spoken about him, the reason I would like to enter him as the first
member of this country,
fruit or nut or whatever of this country is he has in America, while he's been in America, in sunny little Washington, he's referred to Britain as being an authoritarian state like North Korea. So in terms of boosting us, waving the flag around the world, making us feel like he's worthy of being our prime minister, our leader in this country. He's going around saying we're the same as
North Korea.
Well,
surely that's to him and his very close kinsman. That's exactly what they want, isn't it?
Well, yes. I thought they would. I mean, North Korea.
They're celebrating that, surely.
Well, they prioritize their armed forces. They make sure that the country is promoted first and foremost. That you can't speak ill of your leaders. That the flag is always respected. Why wouldn't they?
Oh, the flag. Yeah. The flag, man. I seen a meme, but sorry, on a different thing. I seen a meme before of someone had taken a still of Keir Starmer on the dispatch box and basically given him photoshopped all I could describe it as a white Colonel Sanders of KFC suit, but then painted it in the St. George's flag, so the red cross going over it, and saying, "We're just one step away before we see this in reality." So there we go. So our first member and this week's inaugural member of the Two Left Feet's country is Nigel Farage. Well done, Nigel. Well done, Nigel Farage.
Is it slow clapping? Sorry, I was doing a genuine.
It's a very depressed. I don't know. Do you know what? I don't know how to get. I'm going to see if I can get little sound bites.
Sure. Logo this week. Bloody jingles next week.
Logo this week. Jingles next week. No, we haven't got a jingle. No, we've got an entrance thing. Arthur says it's too loud, but I think we've got a brilliant little entrance fanfare, and I think No, I just meant like a little crowd noise though. Definitely. I might try and find something. Anyway, talking about Arthur and replies and comments, we do read comments and at this level, I think with the listenership that we have, and it's limited listenership. We've not long restarted, and I'm sure in months and years to come we might might pick up a few people on the way. So
Definitely.
you might be listening to this in a few months' time, years' time, however long.
Mm.
Depends what we end up doing. But we do try, and we will continue to try, to answer, reply, or comment on feedback and comments from you people out there in Radioland. We got a comment from Pod George Egan, 1956, on last week's episode through YouTube. Oh, by the way, yes, we are on YouTube. So all the
no video, but we do have.
Well, no, it's through the podcast element of YouTube.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's not. Well, there's no. We're not filming ourselves. I mean,
no one needs to see.
Nobody needs to see.
No, but we've got an equalizer, and it
yeah.
So you can see how quiet I am.
Yes,
great.
And so far away from the microphone as well, banging against doors. Yeah, so we are on YouTube as of this week. All of the back content from years ago has gone up. But I say years ago, we did 18 or so episodes, or 17 episodes from the first run, the first season.
COVID.
Yeah, it was a thing that we did. Yeah, it was over COVID, wasn't it? We started, and obviously because of things that happened in the party, we stopped because everything stopped, and now we're back, and we're not, brand new logo, brand new show. So we are going to comment. So yes, we'll go back to George. After last week's episode of the Two Left Feet, the unofficial Your Party podcast, they're available on not just YouTube, but Spotify and Podbean and a whole host of other things. iHeartRadio. It's on iHeartRadio. Let me just go get the list for a second. So we are on Apple Podcasts, which
I couldn't find it, but it might come up now. I don't know.
Right, I think that since we took a little break, I think Apple Podcasts needs redoing.
Okay.
I'll have to have a look at that. YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Listen Notes, Podchaser, Boomplay. We're on Deezer, Pandora, Odyssey, and a whole load of other things as well. Good Pods, Podfriend, Casper, all sorts of different things that it ends up going to. So, and YouTube now as of this week. So if you want to listen to us anywhere there, you can do. But Spotify's the big one, and Amazon Music and all the rest of it. So yeah, you can listen to us. Right, we're going to go back to the comment from last week's show from George, and he put a comment on YouTube, and he said Hamas is legitimately resisting occupation in compliance with international law. So after we spoke a little bit about Gaza and what's happening there and everything, I can't remember where this comment would have dropped in. It was in the general conversation.
Yeah.
So, but George did mention that Hamas, in his opinion, is legitimately resisting occupation in compliance with international law. I brought this comment to your attention, Jabez. What do you reckon? Is George right?
I think it's in reference. We spoke about Hamas and I refer to them as death cult, and
why?
Because they are.
What's the reason? Why would you put such a strong term on a elected group? So Hamas is the elected representatives of the Gaza Strip.
They were an elected element of Palestine at one stage.
Okay, so if they're elected, why are they a death cult?
Because, well, you can be elected and also be a death cult, first of all. They aren't mutually exclusive terms. But to seriously answer your question, since 2007 or around that time when they stood and were involved in elections in Palestine, they since sought, it's far too complicated, and indeed I wouldn't be doing it justice to say that there was a conflict between Gaza and, between Hamas and Fatah, which is the other group involved in the situation in Palestine, and it led to a splintering of the combined Palestinian Authority. So Hamas then controlled Gaza, whilst Fatah controlled the West Bank, which is the larger contingent of the Palestinian occupied territories, or what will hopefully, and I mean that earnestly, become the Palestinian state. The reason I would call it a death cult is because it adopts for ideological and possibly extremist interpretations of religion the idea that resistance includes the use of suicide bombings. And indeed, Hamas's military ring, which is referred to as the Al-Qassam Brigades, utilizes suicide bombings as its main method of attack against the Israeli state.
Israeli state?
Yes.
So as in they suicide bomb against IDF soldiers?
No, they well, I wish it was just IDF soldiers, but they also aim for. Sorry, in terms of complying with international law, you would hope that any form of attack by someone who is legitimately resisting would be against the enemy combatant, rather than what actually happens, which is they attack citizens and of the other country. And since 1987, their attacks on these civilian targets, where they were clearly the civilian targets, and Hamas claims this. This isn't an independent group saying, "Oh, well, this is," or some partisan group saying, "Well, this is what Hamas do." This is what Hamas themselves are happy to say that they do. 21 times they have utilized suicide bombers to kill and injure many hundreds of civilians, regardless of their nationality, who are not involved in the military operations of the occupying state of Israel.
But is that... Well, hang on, go back to George's point.
So, sure.
So that's legitimate resisting.
Killing civilians of another country is legitimately resisting.
But are they legitimately there as civilians?
This wasn't...
Should those civilians, Israeli civilians, be in that land? If they're being occupied, like you say, the Israelis are occupying land that's the state of Palestine. It should be the state of Palestine. Does that mean that it's a legitimate attack, as George is pointing out?
I think that's an interesting question and a very good way of sort of putting the best form of his argument forward, which I think we ought to when considering the feedback we receive. But if you take that to its end and you say you're allowed to bomb civilians if they are in what you perceive
as your territory,
you would say as your territory, which, as Hamas have said, they've reiterated again and again and again that they want the mandate borders of Palestine, so that is the British mandate of Palestine's borders as the Palestinian state. That is what they are fighting for, which means they may argue that, and indeed they do. There's various official documents from Hamas which say they will use any form of resistance necessary to forward and establish the state of Palestine from the river to the sea, to use that phrase. But what that actually means is the West Bank, Gaza and East Jerusalem. In terms of whether you're allowed to kill non-combatant forces, people who are not involved in direct conflict, that's a war crime, full stop. In terms of saying, well, we're doing it because they did it to us.
Well, this is hang on, I'll stop you there, because you just used the term war crime.
Yeah.
And we've got to look at what, the Netanyahu government have authorised. Certainly in the last 2 years, there's been several accounts and several documented accounts of war crimes. And this isn't a new thing.
Yeah.
That, we can clearly see documented accounts of war crimes going back 10 years, 15 years, 30 years that the Israeli government has carried out.
Indeed.
So is Hamas's resistance legitimate when they have war crimes committed against them and their people?
That is, again, another really good question, and it's important to answer it. It must be said, the Israeli Defense Force is a horrifying occupying force, and they shouldn't be regarded as anything other than people who commit war crimes themselves. In a really good example, and I was astonished when I was reading this, the IDF had a policy called the neighbour procedure, right? And what this involved was that when they were looking for militants in the West Bank and Gaza, mainly the West Bank at the time, this is around 2002, they would send citizens of Palestine to knock on the door of these militants first, to try and get the militants to come out of the door. And then the militants obviously would shoot the civilian and the soldiers, or shoot at them in order to try and capture these militants. The Supreme Court of Israel blocked this and said you obviously can't do that. That's a war crime and it's horrific to do. It's human shield. So essentially they're using a
Palestinian citizen,
poor Palestinian, and making them go and knock on the door and
get shot at.
Again, in 2004, and these are instances for which I was able to find, there will be many more. A 13-year-old boy, Mohammed Badwan, was tied to a police vehicle, an Israeli police vehicle, in the West Bank in order to stop stones being thrown at the vehicle by Palestinians. And then in 2005, the Israeli High Court banned this practice in particular, but the Israeli Defense Force appealed. So that's how awful this organisation is. Not only do they need to be told you shouldn't use 13-year-old children in your fighting strategies, but when you're told not to, you challenge that and say, "Oh well, we should be allowed to do that," and that's how awful the people.
So is George right? Hamas is legitimately resisting.
George is right in the sense that I cannot imagine being people living in Gaza and not wanting to do the things that Hamas.
But you called them a death cult.
They are a death cult because, and again, to go back to the law briefly, you're two wrongs don't make a right is an obvious and very easy phrase to say.
I mean, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about the passage in an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Mm-hmm. The whole world's blind and all that.
Well, that was Gandhi, and that's why he devoted himself to peaceful, non-violent resistance. Mm-hmm. Again.
But
but in terms of international law, the right.
Well, this was exactly what I was going to move on. So legitimate resisting occupation, but he also says, as a part of his comment, in compliance with international law. Does it comply with international law?
No.
That's a very short and blunt answer.
It is, and I can qualify it. The Geneva Convention, 1949, Additional Protocol, Article 51, subparagraph 6, attacks against civilian population or civilians by way of reprisals is prohibited. So even if it's in response to attack on your own citizens, you're not allowed to attack other countries' civilians. This is clarified and rebuted and made the absolute. This is how the law is to be interpreted in some very tricky and difficult cases in the International Criminal Tribunal for Yugoslavia. If you remember, Yugoslavia was a multi-ethnic society which broke down, and that meant there were armies of one culture attacking another culture, and they would attack back in response. These tribunals decided in two cases, prosecutor and Kapreski from 2000 and the prosecutor and Martic from 1991, and they said it is absolutely the case that you are not allowed, as a revenge platform or in terms of reprisals, to bomb, be it by suicide or otherwise, the enemy who may have done that to your own citizens. In terms of compliance with treaties, and in terms of, well, they're not following the international law treaties, so why should we? Mm-hmm. Again,
tit for tat.
It doesn't matter. Obviously, in terms of humanitarian law, treaties apply all the time, even if the other side breaks them. And that's the case of Nicaragua and the United States of America, from 1986, where America and Nicaragua were told it was a very complicated case involving the CIA's use of criminal gangs in Nicaragua. And the claim was, and I can't remember the details of the case, but the claim was that, oh, well, they broke the treaty, so why should we then have to follow the same treaty? And the court's response was, because when it comes to humanitarian law, you always have to follow the treaty, and two wrongs do not make a right. And it's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope I've set out quite clearly.
I mean,
in my view, Israel are
you've
horrifying,
evil. You presented a very sort of legal response to George.
Sure.
I mean, but George has, cited that it's international law, so I wouldn't expect anything different in that. Hamas again, you referred to as a death cult. Just exploring that slightly. So, Hamas's policy, as a policy, because they, as you said, they're partially elected and in the Gaza Strip, not in the West Bank.
No, and they view themselves as a political
force. Who's the political force in the West Bank?
I didn't look into that much detail. I think it's Fatah at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think there was a split between them, and that's what caused this splintering. And then Hamas it was called the Gaza War I think it was 2008. And there was a serious conflict where Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip, which they had been elected within. But we must remember that this idea that Hamas were legitimately elected by the people of Gaza is Israeli propaganda. It's not necessarily the reality, the historical reality that Hamas ran democratic elections and they were elected democratically. That's not necessarily the full picture of what happened, and it misses out the crucial part, which was there was a civil war which led to Hamas taking control of the Strip. And I was about to use that phrase I use all the time on this podcast, which is that's fine. It's not
that's
fine.
Yeah.
But that is the conclusion of what happened. In terms of the death cult thing and why I chose that phrase,
because I'm interested in this bit. I'm interested.
I hope people
because I think that's a very
say.
extreme accusation that you. I mean, okay, you could say Hamas is not a legitimate political force. That they are they're
a proscribed group in the United Kingdom, so expressing support for them is illegal. And they've actually brought a case in the UK, unprecedented case, arguing that they should be taken off the list as a proscribed group. And I've got no views on that. I really don't. So I think it's interesting because, on the one hand, I think the prescribing laws are ridiculous, but on the other hand, I also think Hamas is a terrorist group. So it's one of those sort of, how do you sort of the bad egg with the bad egg sort of thing.
But why a death? I'm really interested in this.
They're a death cult because they orientate their main belief of resistance around the idea of being a suicide bomber.
Well, hang on, if they're all suicide bombers, how come they're still around?
Because, well,
who's doing the suicide bombing?
Well, not everyone wants to be a suicide bomber. Well, I don't really want to get. I wouldn't understand, and I wouldn't want to try and understand why someone gets to the point where they think they need to do that or they want to do that. But I imagine living in a country like Gaza or a city like Gaza and the stranglehold that the occupying force has on you is perhaps one of those situations where you may feel like, and but they encourage.
But they encourage this.
Yes, and I think.
Do they financially encourage it? Is this a?
So there is this controversial thing called the Martyrs Fund, and both governments do this. It's not just a Hamas thing. This is something that happens in Palestine. Family of those who are.
I thought you meant the Israeli government.
No. The family of the suicide bomber or someone who may have been killed in the line of duty in fighting the war, and I distinguish those quite deliberately. Will receive a stipend from the government. And this is called the Martyrs Fund, and it's interpreted depending on where you read, in different ways. You could view it as a sort of, it's a fund for the widows and the children and the orphans of these soldiers and people fighting against an occupying force, but it's also a fund for terrorists who go and kill innocent civilians in another place where many of them will not have any responsibility for why they're there. They would have been born in Israel. They would have, and they're dead now because of a conflict which they're not necessarily involved with. So that's one reason. The other reason is they utilize an extremist aspect of Islam, and I'm not a Muslim. I don't have much knowledge of Islam, and I respect it like I respect all faiths as a religious person myself. But they seem to have taken this rather extreme doctrine of the faith, which is the idea of martyrdom, which is present in the Christian faith as well, the idea that you sacrifice yourself for the religion. And they take that to its end, to its extremist end, and they've developed a culture where it is honourable to join these brigades, and their main strategy is to get these people to join and to get them to strap bombs on themselves and go and blow themselves up. And it's in terms of the definition of a death cult, I did look it up because I was concerned, because I thought, am I right in saying a death cult? And in terms of what Hamas is, the definition is a fringe religious group that glorifies or is obsessed with death. And
hang on,
why are they obsessed with death? Yeah, I think.
What?
Well, let me read you some quotes, because these are from their own words of mouth, right? And they're not long quotes, and they emphasise their view of what they're doing. The leaders of Hamas. We have Khaled Marshall, who is the current acting chairman of Hamas, in 2003, when he said, "No nation is liberated without sacrifices. In all wars, there are some civilian victims. We are not responsible for them." And he was referencing that Hamas' strategy of using human shields. Now, I haven't mentioned human shields.
No, hang on.
I haven't mentioned human shields because Israel have used human shields, and I don't think it's.
So hang on. Just say that quote again. So
no nation is liberated without sacrifices.
That's true.
It is true. In all wars, there are some civilian victims.
That's true.
We are not responsible for them.
Well,
that's not true. They are responsible for them because they send the people in who kill them.
But they're not the one pulling the trigger.
The people they
send in,
who are suicide bombers, pull the trigger.
Oh, right. Hang on.
Yeah.
So you mean in that context,
Yes,
not as in
absolutely,
as in a line of civilians that they put in front of a hospital or
no.
Or,
well, that
or
alleged
base
they say that doesn't happen. Hamas say that does not happen. So I haven't mentioned.
So they did. So
because that's not they're saying that.
Because I thought that sort of referred to as using civilians as cannon fodder.
No, I think he's referring to the idea that civilians die in war, and that's not our problem because we're fighting a war and we're fighting to liberate our country.
Okay. Another quote.
Ismail Haniyeh, who was the lead strategist on this October 7th attack. But this quote I find astonishing, and he said it in October 2023, after the attack, where October 7th. This
is about 2 weeks after.
Yeah. So he said, "The blood of the women, children, and elderly, his citizens.
Yes.
We are the ones who need this blood, so it awakens within us the revolutionary spirit." So these people are dying to liberate us, to make us feel revolutionary, to make us fight the resistance.
Well, that was okay. Early days, and I'd assume that they'd have thought at that point it would be stopped and ceasefire within a month. Surely that's a quote of a period of time.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Well, as in you say in the context is that it's 2 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. It's a bit of a slightly out there comment,
mm-hmm.
but there's truth in it. I mean, you look historically to any oppressed peoples,
right?
And I mean, violent.
This man developed a strategy and a tactic.
Yeah, that used civilians,
which was entirely which is entirely revolved around murdering 1,500 civilians. These weren't soldiers. These weren't enemy combatants.
But
they weren't
it's the same kind
occupying.
of psychology, and it's a crowd psychology where if women, children, elderly are abused, murdered, raped, whatever the claim is, that the rest of society, of their society, will rise up as one. Whether it's and it's the same psychology as being told that immigrants are coming in raping women of this country.
Right.
People rise up as one. That's the psychology.
Yeah.
That's what he's going for there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's right.
No.
I'm not saying that it's the
absolutely necessary to understand.
It's just that's the thought behind it.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, in the context of today, would he say the same thing?
Well, he was assassinated by the
so you wouldn't
Defense Force.
Yeah, he wouldn't say that.
Say anything.
No.
But
I'm not. I'm just
no
bit of devil's advocate on that side.
Oh, definitely. I think this is where it's really tricky because what I'm trying to understand is how awful it's got in this situation, where we do have to look at people like Hamas and judge them in the context of the awful situation that they're in. And while in my view they still come out as wanting, they're still, in my view, a death cult based on their sort of glorification of martyrdom and glorification of suicide bombing and their encouragement. I mean, one awful thing I read was by Abu Abadiah in 2023. 85% of new recruits since the Gaza invasion are orphaned children, so people under 18. And his view was that the new recruits were orphans desiring revenge for their parents' deaths by the IDF.
And that is a time-old...
And that's a complete derogation of humanity and civilization.
Absolutely.
It's an obsession with death.
I'm not...
And it's completely orientating themselves around utter...
Is it their fault, though? Is it their... I mean, I'm thinking... I'm genuinely thinking, as you said that, Tony Benn's speech in Parliament at the start of the Iraq War. And I probably don't need to quote or phrase any to the people who listen to this, but it is the whole thing. In 20 years' time, won't those children who weep grow up to be in a cycle of violence? That it's the same story repeating itself. It's Pompeii. It's the same. We don't learn from previous mistakes.
Yes, and I think there are examples in history of people like Hamas. And there are examples in history of people like Gandhi. And there's examples of history of people like Ben. And there are examples of history of people like Blair.
Yes.
We can make choices. And Hamas have chosen
to go down this road.
To be a death cult.
Okay. Well, right, listeners. I mean, please don't.
Oh, it's my view.
It's all
very complicated stuff.
If you do disagree, but in kind debate, obviously. Do get in touch, and if you disagree with Jabez or anything that's been said, we'll discuss it further. And then can
I say, just for the benefit, I do agree with George, part of his comment.
Which bit?
Hamas are legitimately resisting. They're not resisting in compliance of international
law. Not in law.
They are, in my view, problematic to the extent that I've said. But the act of resisting an occupying state is justified, and they are justified in doing that. And that might sound contrary.
But then if you're... it is very... because if you're saying they're a death cult, do they deserve to... that's Hamas.
Yeah.
Does the whole population deserve to be annihilated?
No.
Does genocide...
No,
actually...
because my argument works in reverse. Israel isn't allowed reciprocally to destroy a nation because their civilians were captured, killed, injured, raped. Nothing in our society now, since World War II, since the Shoah, since all of these horrible things have happened across the world, we decided that two wrongs don't make a right. And Israel, they're currently in court at the moment, facing accusations of genocide, and they should be. But there were 2 arrest warrants. One of them was for Benjamin Netanyahu, and the other one was for the former head of Hamas.
Oh, right, okay.
Because he was also found to have possibly, allegedly committed war crimes. And that's what we have to remember. there are two sides who are dragging humanity down. And one of them is more powerful and doing more horrific things on a greater and horrific level. But so are the other side as well. And that's all we have to remember.
Okay, all right then. Well, those are, it's all views and opinions, and of course, everybody out there, all you humanoids out there in podcast land, if you want to get in touch on this subject, by all means, either comment on YouTube. We'll see it on Podbean, possibly the other platforms. Some of the comments on other platforms we might not see because we won't get the notifications through. Or just email us. It's labourpod@gmail.com, or there's the Facebook page, which is Two Left Feet. Oh, I thought was it LabourPod still on that? But it's Two Left Feet. So if you go onto Facebook, give us a like on there, and then we'll definitely get the notifications of any comments that come up there. What's your opinion? Is there anything that you disagree with Jabez on, or myself? I mean, to be honest, I was listening to that. It's deeply depressing. It's deeply horrific to even contemplate what anyone is going through in that part of the world. But what is more worrying, and I think most people agree now, it's the inaction of the neutrals of this world, who are meant to be standing by international law and protecting international law, and we're just sat back doing nothing. Yeah. And that goes back to Starmer and his government, and David Lammy, who, it's in the gift of the nation to them to stand up and say no more to this, no more. But we are where we are. Right, so yeah, get in touch if you want to have a comment. We'll read your comments out on next week's show.
Definitely.
Or any other subject. If you want us to talk about any other subject on the show, by all means. And if there's any elected officials out there listening to our podcast now, if you want to come on the show and have your say, then please get in touch and we'll get you on the show. No problem. Right, then we'll go to a break now, and we will be back with your party news right after this. See you in a second, humanoids. Welcome back, humanoids, to the Two Left Feet, the unofficial Your Party podcast. Welcome back. I'm Dafydd Vaughan, and I'm here with our co-host with the most, former councillor, Mr.
Jabez Oakes.
Jabez Oakes. Yeah, you remembered your name this week.
I did. When do I stop being a former councillor?
Until you get elected for something else.
What if I don't want to be elected?
Well, I think in terms of what's going to happen in your party, our party, your party, everyone's party. I think it's going to be a time where especially the more experienced people now who've come over from other parties, I think, and this is to everyone listening as well.
It is, yeah.
There's a lot of you that are going to have to stand in seats whether you like it or not to, fly the flag, to raise the banner.
Yeah, and it's worth bearing in mind that when I stood, I didn't like it. So, you do have to stand even when you don't think you should.
Most left-leaning people, or generally left-leaning people, I don't think that, that's a whole other argument where I don't think everyone is completely left or completely right or but most left-leaning people have a feeling that they shouldn't, or it's not their place, or it should be for other people.
Yeah.
Or the group should decide. And they don't want to be egotistical and have that kind of ego where they step forward. The thing is, and I'll say to all of you party supporters out there who are listening to this, the most egotistical people who do step forward are the ones who join a party to become a career politician. So if you want this party to work and not go down the same neoliberal hole that many of the other ones have gone down, then it is required of you to step up. And when asked to go into a election or possible seat, whether it's community council, town council, village councils, county councils, borough councils, Senedd, city councils, the Holyrood, Parliament. Sometimes you've just got to. And we were talking about this. So this is obviously this is the segment. We've swapped it round to Downstay Show. We put in the Your Party News and Business to the end of the programme because people felt like the interesting bits should come first, and then the constitutional bits should come at the end.
They are the interesting bits.
Well, I mean, I think the comment was, well, by the time we get an hour into the podcast, most people have fallen asleep anyway. So if you're listening intently to this part of the podcast, well done.
Yeah, you made it.
You've made it. Or
now at the best bit.
Or you've just gotten up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, and we're still talking while your podcast device is next to you. So I mean, it'd be very cruel of me at this point to say, "Wake up!" and you accidentally needing to wake up to go to the toilet right now. I listen to podcasts like that, so I'm
not on the toilet.
While I listen to podcasts while I'm drifting off, and I think that's how some people use it. Certainly, I do. So we'll put in the constitutional stuff of the party and the news of the party at this segment. So if you're still listening at this point, well, thank you very much. I hope Arthur's still listening, and I hope he can.
Are you, Arthur?
let us know, Arthur. Are you listening at this point?
I really hope he does.
I hope he does as well. I'm funny enough, I'm looking through the Your Party supporters page on Facebook, and he's a great contributor. To be fair, he does. He does post quite a lot up on the page. He's very active and
good.
He's also an admin. Mr. Arthur, admin, could you do us a favour? Could you put on a pin post or somewhere the list of meetings up? Oh, there's upcoming events. He has done, I think.
They've
already.
done that, yeah.
I think he already has done.
Yeah.
Arthur, you're brilliant. Oh, he has as well. Right. Okay, I'll do this first while I've got it up. The page, I mean. We've got upcoming events. We've got 3. Oh, we've had past events. Oh God, yeah, we're in September now.
We are.
September 3rd. But alongside the list of last week that was going on. So we've got Your Party, Portsmouth Public Meeting, Trafalgar Place, Fratton. On Tuesday, 9th of September at 7 p.m. We've got hang on, let's go into that. So they've got a Facebook group, an event page. So that's Bunny Warren Preschool Nursery, Portsmouth. There's already about 30 odd people plus expected, and it's being hosted by Momentum in Portsmouth. So there you go. So the old Momentum group in Portsmouth. An opportunity to add your ideas to how this new party will address social and governmental issues locally, nationally, and internationally. So there you go. That's Portsmouth coming up on the 9th. We've also got Thursday, 11th of September, starting at 7:30. We've got the Sittingbourne and Sheppey inaugural meeting. So that's Thursday, 11th of September. Nothing has ever happened on the 11th of September. That's interesting. Or will happen. Ever.
Yes.
No. No. That's Thursday.
Sorry, listeners. That was no, as in we're not doing that joke. Let's move on.
I wasn't doing that joke. I was referring to something
I
else.
know you were, and that's what I'm saying no to.
And I'm going to have to say something about the podcast in the next couple of weeks because of that.
Yeah, I know.
That might disrupt the number of podcasts coming up.
Sure.
But that's up to you however you want to say. I just say as a.
We'll do it at the end.
We'll do it at the end.
I will. Yeah, I'll put the blame on me. And
put the blame on you. Yeah. Put the blame on you. So Thursday. I'll try and get this. Thursday, 11th of September, Sittingbourne and Sheppey inaugural meeting, 7:30 to 8:30. I don't think you're going to do that. I think it'll be a lot longer than that. Where is it? So it's in Castle Connections, Well Road, Railway Street, Queensborough. ME11 5AY is the postcode. And there's already about 15 people saying that they're going to that. So if you want to go on to Facebook and join their event page for that one. And also, And this one, a big one, a real big one, it's the Clwyd area, that's North East Wales, Clwyd area inaugural meeting set for Monday, 15th of September at 7 p.m. at the Daniel Owen Community Centre in Mold, Arwyddgrug, in Flintshire. So that is CH7 1AS. Funny enough, that's the one we're organising.
You're organising.
I'm organising.
I've done.
No, you're organising.
I've done nothing.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say
Almost
done
deliberately.
nothing. I've done nothing. Yeah, so that's going to be on. Oh my gosh, I've just seen how many people since yesterday have saying they're attending. We have got over 70 people saying that they're attending this one. This is the whole Clwyd area. So this is Clwyd North, Clwyd East, Wrexham, Allen and Deeside. So any of that area, this is the inaugural meeting there.
And as well, there will be people from who they may not.
May not people what?
People from other places who may be
interested in coming.
Yeah, and they should just come anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And,
No,
at least we can make sure that their area has
supporters.
Their group.
Supporters.
Let's get everyone in.
Stooges.
Because we had a couple last night, didn't we, who technically, because of the weird shapes of the
sorry, just for the listeners. Last night we had a initial social meeting for the Clwyd area. It was a little social gathering where we put faces to names that we'd been speaking to over WhatsApp and the Facebook groups and everything, and it was a really good little introduction to each other. We had a little chat and spoke about things coming up and everything. Thank you to everyone who did come to the pub last night as we're recording to discuss all things your party in Clwyd. But here's the thing. We did say so last night. Oh, well, what if so-and-so comes along who's, that it shouldn't be in the group? Let them.
Yes.
And in every... I would like to see more people who are staunch, as it was phrased last night, dyed-in-the-wool Labour, come to the meetings and just listen and see if it's, actually maybe something, even Green Party. And we see, we've had a new leader of Green Party come in who speaks very well. I mean, Polanski, when he's not being forced to talk about push-up bras.
I'm sorry.
Have you not listened to this?
No.
He went on to Good Morning Britain this morning.
Okay.
And he was railroaded by Ed Balls and the co-host, who I can't remember her name. And on a comment that he made years ago about, I'd half listened to it. It was something like if women meditated and did things, then they could change the shapes of their bodies and they wouldn't need painful garments, something like that. And I think it was something that he said when he was a student or that time in his life.
Polanski apologises over claim he can increase women's breast sizes with his mind.
Yes. And instead of talking about the Green Party, their policies and his leadership, on Good Morning Britain, he was shouted down and cut across every 2 seconds to talk about this subject that they've managed to find out about him. Which, that's that. Yeah. So if there's people in the Green Party who want to have a listen, I'm not. There's Green Party friends in the area who I know are sound people who would love to listen to some of the policies and blah de blah. They're welcome. Everyone's welcome. There's no spies. There's no stooges. If you're a Tory even and you think, oh my gosh, I need a new political home. Our boat's sinking. Then hey, you've got the Labour Party now. Right. So we've got that meeting is on Monday 15th of September, 7 p.m. in Mold with Arwyddgrug in Welsh. So thank you to your party supporters page and I think that could be Arthur, that could be Arthur because he is admin and I do thank you very much, Arthur, for that, and we hope to see as many people there as possible. I'm also looking for some guest speakers. Because as I got told by a couple of people who are within the organisational thing that's happening at Zara's office, Well, everybody wants guest speakers at the moment, and there's not much time for them to do it. But, however, it would be nice to get elected or former elected people up to North Wales, to the so far 80 plus people who are either interested or saying that they're attending the meeting. Could you please help?
I'm not available. No.
Yes, because as a former town councillor,
Yeah,
you're the elected
great,
official that we're
yeah.
going for. Yeah, I think that's the. And we don't want to be sort of felt like we're being ignored.
No, yeah, and look, it's when you're building a movement like this, it's and especially when you're trying to do it grassroots and grounds up, you want to make sure that you're still all connected and you're still fighting a fight together. And that is, you can have those moments of saying, "Oh, are we in the desert alone?" sort of thing, and we're not, because I can see as well, especially on your party supporters page and other pages and across the mainstream media as well and the alternative media, there's a huge sort of suspicious wariness of your party and how it is actually gaining a bit of ground. I mean, one establishment are panicking is one phrase from the Canary, and then in between all of the silly headlines about how there's a split in the party that doesn't exist yet, there are plenty of headlines saying and stories talking about how we're all meeting, we're all having great chats, we're all, getting our heads together. One thing that interests me is there seems to be a sort of, not split, to avoid that word, but a sort of different attitude to what these inaugural meetings could be used for. I think we've taken the approach of, well, let's set up a procedural mechanism. Let's work out a way of having further meetings and working out,
and then work out policy later. Yeah,
and I think there's another attitude, which is let's all meet and work out what kind of policies we are, what kind of parties we are. And I think both.
I feel, and okay,
Yeah.
I'll explain myself on this one, as I think I did last night in the
Yeah.
meeting.
And I wasn't asking, by the way, Dad, why haven't you done
Why haven't I? Because it is this particular area is on me. On my part, I already get a feeling of where we are as a party. I've got a feeling of where on the compass of left, right, or whatever you want to call it. People do say it's an outdated sort of analogy, but it is what we what we work with. I already got a fair idea of where the needle rests, so I'm not worried about that part. I'm not concerned about which side of the needle that it tilts on different subjects. That's democracy of a party. When those subjects come up, as we said last week, when those subjects come up, the party will vote, conference will decide, and that's what we do. And that's where we're at, once all the arguments have been made. I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is, how do we get to the point where we can actually put it to a conference to decide? I am worried at this point, that there's no mechanism in place to ensure that members from every part of the country have a fair share at having their opinion heard at some level.
That's it. Yeah.
Because I want to see, first the constituency parties need to be formed, or they're ready to form when it becomes a legitimate party. But then also for those people to then be emboldened to start thinking about where their branches lie.
That's it. Yeah.
And then that's where the grassroots discussions begin.
Before we even get into policy, that there are points of disagreement there, or points which need to be resolved via voting. Like what, and not to get into it because it's more boring than me normally. But the upshot is that there may be different ways we want to do constituency parties, and there may be different ways we want to.
You mentioned this in the last week, and you mentioned this in the gathering that we had in our area.
Yeah.
About how to do things differently. You were asked a question in that meeting last night, which I'll
sorry, go on. Yeah.
which I will convey to the listeners here. What is the alternative
to what?
To how we're used to doing things, how we learn from being in the Labour Party, which is branch, constituency, then everything above, depending on which part of the country that you're in.
Yeah. So
Sorry to cut, but then you in yesterday's meeting said about community organisers.
yeah,
Is that your reply again?
I can answer in the same way I did last night, which was, when Corbyn was leader of the Labour Party, they started hiring community organisers for each constituency party or groups of constituency parties, and they would work on organising and engaging with the local community to make the party more sort of integrated with its community and make campaigning more effective. What I'm suggesting is, instead of, and this is partly because Zara Sultana has mentioned this as being a focus of how the party should operate in future, I'm suggesting that perhaps we don't ignore the political reality of constituency boundaries and ward boundaries and so on and so forth, but we acknowledge that perhaps it would be better to orientate ourselves around communities rather than these sort of almost abstract constituency areas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, when it comes to certain elections, we all have to say no. We are a constituency group for the moment. We are a constituency campaign group. That they are made up of these community parties or these community areas, and we need to form as one and get on with campaigning. But it seems sort of backwards to me, or the wrong way of looking at it, when you say, right, we have this party, we want to engage with the community all the time, we want to make sure we're relevant all the time, but we're going to form ourselves into a geographical area that's only relevant once every 5 years. And that to me seems odd.
Right, just for some listeners who might be listening in inner city areas,
Yeah.
whose geographical areas are quite tight,
Yeah.
and you could walk from one side of the constituency to the other. Just give an example of a constituency area that you can't do that, and what sort of distances we're talking about.
Oh gosh. Okay, so if we're talking about the parliamentary constituency of Aberconwy,
Yep.
that is covering 1/4 of Wales.
Yes, and I'm looking at the map up on the studio wall here.
Yeah.
So it's Aberconwy. So it's the old. So
So
what's it called now? So it's Anglesey in.
So this is and this is the other issue. You've got other constituencies depending on the election.
Yeah.
So the Westminster constituency is
Aberconwy. It's still Aberconwy.
Yeah. No.
No, it's
you're
not.
Right. Yes.
It's not. It's been changed. The name's been changed because it comes right up to the border over here.
Yeah.
Anyway, that particular constituency, which I can't remember the name, and Jabez can't remember the name, is about the size of the Greater London area.
Yeah.
That's one constituency.
Mm-hmm.
The constituency of Gwynedd is geographically the size of 2 Greater London areas.
Yeah.
In the Senedd elections, it combines with another constituency, which is also the size of 2 Greater London areas.
Mm-hmm.
So, geographically, it's like walking from Heathrow to Dagenham and back 4 times.
Oh.
To go from one side of the super constituency to the other. Yeah, that's the size of the constituency.
And as well, the population is much smaller. So
yes.
You have a smaller group of people who are having to campaign across.
Well, I mean, the super constituency is 200,000 people. So you're talking a vast space with probably the number of people who would fit into Kentish Town.
Mm-hmm.
Or Islington North.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think that's 100,000 people. But anyway, you get the Islington was probably about 200,000. As an example for those people who've campaigned there. But so carry on. So in terms of setting up branches,
Bangor Aberconwy is
Bangor Aberconwy is that?
So that's the old Aberconwy, half of Gwynedd.
Yeah.
But anyway, So I suppose in places like busier places like Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham, London, you would have. I mean, they started hiring community organisers in those places, so there was still an understanding of a need to engage with your local community there. But again, the advantage of having a sort of more flexible system is you then can adapt the system in and of itself around the different communities we have in the UK. So, and I'm by no means suggesting a full top and bottom instruction manual for this, but again, the one size fits all model that the Labour Party had didn't work for our area.
No.
We would have worked much better with more powerful branches and a less powerful constituency party. But we still had to adopt the
constituency model because that's what worked in the cities.
That's what the party did.
Yes.
And ironically, we also could have done with a really powerful regional party to help with the sort of, this is slightly theoretical, but we didn't have that either, or a county party to fight our council elections, And once you start getting into the whole, well, we need multiple parties for multiple things, it's sort of think, well, perhaps multiple types of groupings for multiple things. You need to start thinking, well, what are the building blocks of this? What's the actual building blocks of a part of these areas and their communities? And Brian, perhaps being too idealistic, and someone's going to come along and very adequately explain why this practically won't work. But we need to realise that just adopting the Labour model isn't going to work either. There were very, very good reasons why the Labour Party's rule book and model didn't work for the type of politics that we're going for. And that's my case.
There you go. Well, I mean, if those people listening, if you agree or disagree or have your own thoughts, then by all means get in touch on that. Just moving on, so we've got a little bit more news. We have another inaugural meeting. We've got Leighton and Wanstead, who are meeting on Tuesday, 16th of September at 7 p.m. They're meeting at the Leytonstone Methodist Church. 7 p.m, Tuesday, 16th of September. Right, we've also got a meeting in York in October. Fulford Social Hall, School Lane, 11th of October, between 2 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. Limited parking on the street only, but it is on a bus route. It's being hosted by the People's Assembly, for those interested in democratically building local foundations in your party. So that's York coming up. Also, we have a message from, and I'm just going to bring it up if I can get it, from Beth Winters in...
I've got it if you want me to read it out.
Yeah, go on then. I've just pulled it. Yeah, go for it. So Beth Winters, who just explained, so Beth Winters is a former MP in the Labour Party who came to odds with the new regime, pretty much. Who in South Wales, she's organising directly with Zara Sultana's office in Birmingham, Countree. She's doing a couple of things and taking a lead in Wales. Who I'm in contact with myself with Clwyd area. Yes, so statement from Beth Winters, so everyone in Wales.
So this is an update from Beth Winter and Mark Sawatka, who is the former General Secretary of the PCS Union. And Beth Winter was the MP for Cynon Valley. Yeah, and this is the message. It is clear that support for your party has been overwhelming, with 23,000 plus signed up in Wales alone and over 800,000 across the United Kingdom. It is a different kind of politics, outward-facing, community-orientated and rooted in grassroots movements, and we are pleased to say that this is exactly what is happening here in Wales. We are keen to move things forward in Wales and have just completed the initial mapping exercise looking at engagement with your party at a local level. The results are very encouraging and show that people are getting together and meeting across Wales, from Ynys Môn to Cardiff, from Ceredigion to Clwyd, and from Rhondda Cynon Taf to Swansea, to name some of the 12 groups we have so far identified. We are now beginning to work to coordinate the existing groups and develop new ones. We are conscious of the need to keep those who have expressed an interest in our new party as well informed as possible. In the coming weeks, we will do our utmost to attend as many local group meetings as we can to keep people informed. If not in person, then Zoom video calls are always an option. We remain committed to ensuring we have the kind of autonomy and self-determination that reflects our needs and demands here in Wales. We are also conscious of the upcoming Senedd elections next year, which will require decisions by all of us. To that end, please mark October 25th.
25.
It's a legal speech problem, sorry. October 25th, 2025 in your diaries for the first All Wales meeting to discuss the way forward for us here in Wales. Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana have been invited to attend. The venue details will follow in the near future. We thank you for your patience as we continue to pull together, gather and share information in order to find and agree the best way forward for us here in Wales. In the meantime, please continue with your local organising and activities, being active in our communities, working at a grassroots level alongside local people and groups to build a real alternative for the people of Wales. This is the bedrock of our new proposed party. We will go forward together.
There we go. So that was Beth Winters, former MP of Connaught Valley. As well, Zara Sultana has responded to that, and she says she will be in attendance. So that invite has been taken up by Zara. Also, Zara is also invited to the meeting on the 15th of September in Clwyd. We'll see if I get a response there. They're very busy. I understand.
And it's good they're busy. It's pleasing to hear that. A huge part of their time, considering their MPs.
I'm not.
Not you.
I'm not. But over the fact that they can't make it. It's just especially Zara. She's the one who's fired the starting pistol on this.
Yeah, it's her fault.
It's all her fault.
Her fault. I'm here again.
Yeah, and then yes, that you're here again, and this is happening again, and
really upset about it. No.
But then, it's exciting. I know there's other things happening as well. I think for England/National Party, there's also things happening there. Nothing I can announce or say publicly, I don't think, but
not because it's secret, but because it's
not because it's secret.
Not set in stone. It's pencil on the paper.
So fluid and
yeah.
But I think there's meetings happening towards the end of the month, and then other meetings, and then hopefully a conference will be announced, and a conference will be brought together, and however many days worth of talk, chatter, and debate will go on. But then that will be a very, very, very much, in prediction, a constitutional conference. It will be talk about mechanisms and procedures and disciplinary procedures and selection procedures and all the rest of it, which is everything that needs discussing between now and then. But yeah, it's really exciting. What do you reckon, Jason? Is it a exciting prospect of forming a whole new political party from a grassroots model?
Do I answer this question like I was going to last night?
Or? Yeah, you can do if you want.
I think what's encouraging is you hear, people have joined this party really wanting to go to the top, for us to get into government and for us to make
enthusiastically,
real life change to the people in their communities and around them who are suffering. And obviously, because I'm a cynic, as people will figure that out by now, I'm a little bit more measured. I think we're not no, that's not the right way of putting it. I think it's really important that we set the stakes as high as possible. This is really serious.
I said, and I'll say this again. If you shoot for the moon, you might miss, but you'll end up in the stars.
That's it. Yeah.
And it's an expectation thing. I would say those who have all the enthusiasm and positivity in the world and are brilliant.
Yeah.
Bring it to the meetings.
Yeah.
Because the likes of you and me will go, okay, that's a great ambition.
Yep.
We'll see if we can achieve it.
But we need them, because otherwise my response is to the question, where do you see this party ending
10
up?
years, yeah.
And
which is what I asked.
Yeah, my answer would be in a bunker with a pistol and a bullet. It's just like we don't need that cynicism.
No.
We need that balance.
No, we need
opportunity and positivity and
I mean, in terms of practicality,
yeah,
and I say in terms of practical, as in what I expect, or certainly in the systems that we have, we will more likely push the political landscape into more coalitions than anything.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
If you look at how electoral maths and juggling could potentially work, and depending on how things go, then yeah, it would be more than likely that it would be coalitions everywhere, including the Senedd, and possibly in quite possibly in Westminster. But then, of course, national moods could change for landslides as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that is. Any more news? Anything you want to talk about in terms of your party this week? I mean, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of meetings taking place. There's a lot of very enthusiastic people. Everybody is itching to get conference done.
Yeah,
we're going to get conference done.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the best conference ever.
Maybe best conference.
I just think that
he's alive, by the way, Trump.
Sorry,
people thought he was dead. He's not. He's alive. Just thought I'd add that in there in case
What?
There was chatter on certain news sites that
yes,
he might be. No one's seen him for like a week, so he could be dead.
Oh,
he did a news conference,
sitting naked in his on his sofa listening to Fox News eating Cheetos. That's
it.
He's taking a week off.
He had a news conference yesterday, and he said, "This is a great news conference. We've had the best news conferences all week." And it's just he's alive.
Oh, great. Well,
yeah.
Well done, Donald Duns.
Yep.
You're still with us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, only just, by the sounds of it.
I've no idea.
I mean, there you go. So as long as... Do you know what I was about to say? Let's not make the mistakes of other countries and elect nearly 70-something-year-old men into positions of power again, where their bodies are failing and their minds are going, and let's not do that. And then I've just realised, well, actually, most people want a 75-year-old man to...
Oh, I thought you were talking about the king. I didn't know you...
Oh, there's that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but he's not a political leader,
no,
is he?
He wasn't elected either. He's definitely a political leader. But anyway, that's another conversation for another time. But
do you know what? I had a thought come across my mind the other day where...
That's always worrying to
yes,
me.
it is. It's always worrying. That if this country is in the United Kingdom, Great Britain, Northern Ireland, and all its associated bits, was to fall into the hands of extreme right-wing political groups that would push an authoritarian North Korea-style country, as described elsewhere in the world by their leader, we could be one of the only Western governments or Western countries that could resist such a move by having a autocratic monarchy.
Oh, right.
I mean, it
tends not to happen.
But
Franco Spain's a good example.
Yes, but
yeah,
but not quite like that.
No,
no,
that's what happened.
As in the imagination. Oh, well, not quite the same.
Well, they got rid of their king because he was resisting, I think.
Yes, but
Japan didn't.
But that was when the people weren't supporting the monarchy.
Yeah.
If there's a majority, I mean, electoral maths will be if reform did take a landslide. That's not because they have the majority in the country of the number of voters.
No,
that's because they beat first past the post system to get a number of seats in.
Yeah,
the Labour Party, you've just gone in with just under 9 million votes across the country.
It wasn't a majority.
Had a landslide based on 9 million votes out of 18 million people in the country.
Yeah,
that's
something's gone wrong.
Something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
So in terms of reform polling, they could do a similar job in a similar way, but it doesn't mean the majority in support of it. It could come to a point where if they did get in power and did make an absolute pig's ear of it, where King Charles III could have public support to snatch back power.
Well, to
the monarchy.
This was theorised.
Oh, I bet you're loving that idea.
No, there's an actual answer to what would happen. The monarch can refuse a request for a general election in a few circumstances, and one of them is if they feel if they feel like the economy doesn't need another election right now, or there could be someone else who could be the leader or whatever else. But it's been theorized that perhaps the opposite could be true as well, where they would order an election if.
Isn't that yes? But hang on, there's rumours that, and we never privileged to obviously the conversation between a monarch and a prime minister, but there was obviously they're the rumours that happened in the 70s between Queen Elizabeth II and Harold Wilson and Ted Heath.
Yeah.
And that whole after Harold Wilson said I'm going, and then Callaghan and Ted Heath and all that, and all of that trouble. Then it was her who said, "You need an election. You need to."
Well, yeah, and there was a constitutional. There's a constitutional crisis in the 60s involving. Who came after Churchill? And before Alec Douglas Home, I can't remember his name, but he resigned without recommending a leader, basically, and the Conservatives hadn't picked a leader.
You put me on the spot. Suez.
Suez. Yeah,
because
this is
you
podcast.
You bring the yes, great podcast stuff now. Sorry, we're going into dead air here. Dead air because
Anthony Eden. Yeah.
And how did we forget Anthony Eden's name?
Because he's very forgettable.
And him and his bad guts.
Yeah, and the game in this podcast is I'll accidentally say something awful, and then Dav will say something even worse to try and save me. But until he doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, I'll leave. When that happens, I'm just leaving you swinging in the wind.
Pretty much, yeah. So that caused a bit of a problem, but eventually it was sorted out through back channels and conversations, and the Queen felt able to nominate the Earl Douglas Home. Hang
on a minute. Oh God, you're doing this again. No, I think you've got that wrong. I think you have got that wrong.
How dare you?
No, Harold Macmillan.
No, it was Douglas Home.
No, it was Harold Macmillan.
We'll fight about this off the podcast.
Because he was the one who got very narky about Peter Cook and Dudley Moore taking the mick out of him.
Oh right.
On stage, so he tried to ban. He tried to ban all satirical comedies.
Mm.
It was. I'm pretty sure it was Macmillan next. In fact, I've just googled. It is Macmillan next. He was 57 to 63, and then it was Douglas Home afterwards because he only did like a year or so until. Ted Heath came in after that, and then no, it was Douglas Home. Then it was Ted. Then it was Harold Wilson. Then it was Ted Heath. Anyway, whichever way around, it was definitely Macmillan.
Mm.
I don't know what we're arguing over now. We're just going.
I got it wrong. I said it was Douglas Home, and it wasn't. It was Macmillan.
Yes,
who was the chap recommended in the end.
Right,
yeah.
We're going down a rabbit hole.
The point is that the if we ended up in the circumstance of a fascist government, the king might be able to do something. Is the point of that whole conversation?
Yes,
and that ties in with your party because, as a punter who was walking around our meeting, curious as to what we were up to last night, said we need another alternative to reform because at the moment,
who, by the way,
is
I know who you're on about. Who'd be traditionally called a conservative voter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Who,
sensible chap.
Sensible enough.
Different views. Sensible chap.
Small business owner. Employs a couple of lads for very labour intensive work.
Mm.
It was one of those people who made money in the 80s through Thatcher's construction, civil construction projects, which in all fairness did do quite a lot, and has always been a conservative ever since. And even they are going, what
am I going to do?
I haven't got any choice. It has to be reform then. And even they're saying, if there is an alternative to the alternative, then people will look at it. Right. I think that's enough for this week.
So do I.
I think
the listeners may have caught on to a post-podcast discussion there. They may have had a glimpse into some of the mad discussions we have after the podcast is finished.
What if the king takes back power for the monarchy? I mean, we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that rubbish later on. When the rest of the lizard people.
Oh. No.
Hey, it's a theory. I mean, if you go by Doctor Who, they're all werewolves.
Okay.
That's a theory.
Okay.
It's all political theory.
Yeah.
Oh, science fiction theory, whichever one.
What's the difference?
What's the difference? Yeah. Right, let's close this. Close this back. Just slammed the microphone. Let's close this podcast down. We will be back possibly next week. I think we've got time for one next week, do we?
Oh, yes, I ought to. Yeah, I might be not available.
You might not be
unavailable.
Might be unavailable.
Due to personal matters. I'm fine.
It's all fine.
It's all fine.
It's
it's
all
happy, but weird. I just might not be available. So I probably could do a remote podcast.
Oh,
because
right.
We've got the technology.
We've got the technology because my new podcast software.
Science fiction reference there.
My podcast software that I've managed to acquire does allow for remote contacting, so I can send a invite link out. And this is also, for people who are organising in the party who wish to come on and talk, and former elected officials and potential elected officials, you come on to this podcast.
Indeed.
Especially when it comes to election time, I do want to get candidates on to actually talk about who they are, and we'll go from there. Yes. If not, I mean, I don't want to say this in a nasty way, Joe, but I think the podcast should continue. I think that,
yes, definitely.
Even if we don't know who the minister is, we know there's going to be a minister.
Yes. Are you replacing me?
I'm just a little yes minister reference there, but in terms of, I don't know, is there someone out there who would want to give you a little bit of leave, a little bit of time off? I don't know.
I'm not sure if I'm getting leave for my actual job at the moment, but
Oh.
no.
It depends, but it depends on you. We'll talk about it in off air.
Yeah, but either it will be remote, or because it'll be a nice change of scene. I love doing the podcast, but also it.
Do you really love doing the podcast?
No, but I'm going to pretend for the audience. No, I do like doing the podcast. And
they're all listening to you now. They're all wondering if you'd been sincere.
They should always be wondering, as people last night were wondering if I was a stooge or not. Everyone should always.
Everybody
be wondering,
think you're a stooge.
Yeah, everyone should always be wondering what my actual thoughts are.
Yeah.
And anyway, but so the upshot is the listeners must have a podcast. There must always be a podcast. There must always be a podcast. There must always be a government, and we will do.
even if the country is destroyed.
Yeah, His Majesty will appoint a replacement podcast.
Yeah, the minister of podcast.
Consigliere. Consigliere to replace me if necessary.
Oh, do I have to find someone who's law proficient if I replace you?
I'm not law proficient.
Okay, more law proficient than
as boring as me is the actual
more law proficient than any layperson.
Oh right, okay. No,
I don't know.
I think that's necessary.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I mean, at worst, if while you possibly might have a little period away. If there's anybody who wants to do a little pre-recorded, especially, and again, elected officials, people who are organising the party, maybe we could stick a couple of episodes in between just to talk about and discuss the forming of the party, while you're away. Because I don't think any of the listeners outside of this country and whichever country would begrudge you having a little bit of time off.
Oh no, yeah,
no.
That's I've got no qualms about that. But it would be nice to have a bit of political discussion and podcasting during the period as well. So
I see.
Yeah, so perhaps we'll have to see how things go. But despite efforts, I'm not saying why I'm not doing the podcast. But
I think people
will.
Guess.
Of course they can.
Guess,
but yes, that's fine. But so. We'll see what happens, but the podcast must go on.
The pod, I've got Freddie in my head.
Yeah.
it must go on. It must. Anyway, the podcast will go on. The two left feet will be still
Two left feet.
two. Yes.
As opposed to one left feet.
Well, I mean, we just hack another left foot from somewhere and
Yep.
and stick it on, and three left feet, and the show, and like I say, the show must go on. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, all the humanoids out there in podcast land, this has been the Two Left Feet. I'm Dafydd Vaughan with co-host
Jabez Oakes.
Thank you for remembering your name this week, Jabez. We'll be back next week, hopefully, both of us, for another edition of the Two Left Feet. In the meantime, all of you people out there, stay good, stay kind to each other, and we'll hope to see you next week. All right then, bye-bye.
Bye.